Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we are coming to you with the first top 10 in I don't even know how long.
I'm sure Zach does.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Oh.
No, it
Okay.
was, yeah.
I'm going to go with 17 months.
Seems accurate. When we stopped, let's see, it was in March when we posted one for like 184. So February, probably?
Okay, yeah.
Like 14 months.
16 months.
16 months.
Yeah.
14 months is how long I've been working at Avery.
Yep. Correct.
Because I had to introduce myself at our all hands production meeting today, and I've worked here for 417 days. And if the production meeting happened Monday, I would have worked
420?
420 days, and I started on 420.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah, so Monday's 420, 420, 20.
And then you just take a big hit and just blow a giant smoke.
No, that's only Epic, or the old days of Avery.
Yes.
Yeah. They've cleaned up their image now.
Yeah. We market well.
Yes. The market well.
Anyhow, let's dive right into this. So it's been a while since we've done one, so we'll just go over what this is and what this specific list is. This is one of our top 10 episodes. If you're relatively new to the show, we do these. In the past, we've done them about every 10 episodes. We usually try and come up with one. We didn't do any during the pandemic.
No, and we were supposed to do it last time for 2:30, but then someone's basement exploded with water,
Yeah.
so...
Yep. So it was supposed to be
Where the
recorded
studio
last
lives. Yeah.
Friday.
Not the basement. But
Yeah.
the person's house.
Yeah.
Yes, the house where the recording was supposed to happen was undergoing some flooding issues. So the way we do this is pretty simple. We'll do some honorable mentions, and then we'll go into the list, and we just work our way up 10 all the way up to number 1, talking about them as we go.
Yeah.
We each did our own lists independently, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Did you say what the list
I did
is
not.
yet?
So
Okay.
for this episode, as you may have seen from the episode title, we are doing the top 10 games that got us through the pandemic. So
what does that mean to you, that phrase?
So for me, I focus because this is a board gaming podcast. I focused on board games.
Okay.
And for me, I didn't have a ton of need to narrow down. So it's broadly a
It's
list
the 10
of
games I played over the last year.
Essentially, yeah. There is a little bit, the ordering especially has to do with how, for me, a little bit of how they help me keep some sense of normalcy.
Okay. So it wasn't based on of these 10 games I played, this is the best one. It's the one that helped you the most or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah,
vaguely.
That's how I did
That's how I
basically
did
mine
too.
as well.
Yeah.
So these were most important to us in how we got through the last year.
Yeah.
Yes.
While also board gaming and a board game podcast and happy 5 years or whatever this is. 5 years? Are we at 5 years now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like 5 years like today.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
yeah.
So then it's also that.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll do something special later. Who cares?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
We'll bring that up in next week's episode,
Yeah,
I'm sure. But yeah, so also real quick, I did want to say, I kind of put it out in the tweet. I do want to say, this is the games that got us through the pandemic. I think all fully recognize the pandemic is not over, and that we're in a very privileged situation where we live in a town where 70% of people who are eligible in Denver have gotten at least one shot.
Yeah, what's the total population of all of Colorado? 4 or 5 million?
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
I mean, our state is fairly low population. Our major city is fairly liberal, and lots of people got vaccinated.
Yeah.
So things opened up a lot faster than a lot of other places.
Yes.
Yeah. And so and we were all able to get the vaccine fairly early here for our little
Agricultural
group.
processing.
Yeah.
Religious organization.
So we realize we're very fortunate that for us, we can start to get back to a sense of normalcy and start looking back at here's how I got through the pandemic.
And especially because there's other countries that are having a lot harder time with the vaccine distribution.
Like nuttish.
Yeah.
Yeah, just getting any at all.
Yeah.
That's the one.
I know the Biden administration announced a huge multi-billion-dollar effort to supply a lot of countries with vaccines, even just today.
Yeah. The one good thing
Awesome.
that the U.S. is good at is throwing money at a problem. So.
Yes. Yes. So we realize that, and if you're somebody who's still in a place that is locked down or that is struggling, we definitely do feel for you, and maybe this is a chance to hopefully live somewhat vicariously through us. You can also feel free to send us angry emails, berating our privilege,
or take some of our recommendations for games that are very good at being able to still get it.
Exactly.
I want to see some of those angry emails.
Yeah,
I'd take some angry emails. I like angry emails.
we love
I
them.
take all feedback.
Yeah.
I read everything.
Yeah.
Without
looking at you, Next Wave or New Wave, our New Wave review, War of the Worlds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's dive right into it then.
Yes.
Going from there. So let's do some honorable mentions to start things off here. I will start with my honorable mentions. My honorable mentions are just going to be very broad.
Okay. Question: are these still board gaming?
No,
Okay.
I do not have any board game honorable mentions.
Okay. All right.
So for me, my honorable mention is video games as a broad category.
All right.
For me, video gaming was definitely, I got way more into video gaming during the pandemic. I spent a lot more time playing video games during the pandemic. That was definitely a key thing to focus some of my attention, give me an escape. And not just me, but also Megan. Like, we played a lot of 2-player video games and things together. Things like 7 Days to Die, Subnautica Below Zero. She's played the shit out of Long Dark. Stellaris, I went hard on the new expansion. Just a bunch of different games. I beat multiple games. It's been a long time since I regularly beat video games, and I have fully beaten several video games during the pandemic. I got back into Final Fantasy VII here towards the end of things, or 8. Sorry, not 7.
Yeah, okay. I was like, well, you don't have a thing that plays the remake.
No.
So why
I got
7?
8.
Yeah.
the remastered version of 8.
He has the Steam version.
I mean, it's even on Game Pass and stuff.
Yeah.
I think for a while.
The super old one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, video games are a huge thing. So that's my honorable mention, especially because I wanted to stick to the main list being board games. So just video games.
Okay.
We
is my
made you
honorable
stick to the
mention.
main list being board games.
We discussed how we wanted to do it.
Uh-huh.
Because I might have snuck 1 or 2 video games on had we kept it broader. But anyway, Zach, what about you? What do you have for honorable mentions?
I'll put 3 for there. First one, like you said, video games. Specifically WoW, because I played a lot of that during it. But
yeah,
now
I also played WoW again.
Yes. But then it's like, oh, well, now I'm done with the expansion until at some point I will be like, oh, let's see what...
Whenever... Is 9.1 even out yet?
I think so.
Okay.
Or close to it. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Next one is... it's related video, but VR stuff, and it's, especially mini golf on there, because my friend got an Oculus Quest as well. No, sorry, I don't know why I said that. He got an Oculus Quest 2.
Aha!
Also, and
As well.
yeah, and so we played mini golf on there, and it was really nice to be able to feel you were in a place with another person. Just shooting,
This is almost social interaction.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. It was. I think that was October, November time too. So it was a lot of shit going on. That it was it's nice to just go away to this desert and just play mini golf with a friend.
I can believe that.
Yeah. And then the last one is D&D, but it's through the vein of I started watching the D&D show. You're welcome.
You didn't put D&D anywhere on your top 10 list.
Everybody know right now it is not on there at all.
The list is locked in.
The list is locked
it's
in.
there. You
It's
can't.
locked in.
You
I'm
can't
definitely
not,
changing it.
Nope.
Because my list was 9 when we sat down. I
wrote-
realized it was only 9.
I wrote
and
it
I was
in-
scrambling.
All right, then put it as number 10.
I wrote it in
Just put it
pen.
as 10. Everything else is
I
locked
can't-
in.
I can't.
No.
I can't change anything. It's in pen.
It's a good thing those notes don't matter.
Yeah, rude. Make sure
They
you
matter
take
to Zach.
yeah, take a picture so people can see the director's cut of the list. I don't know.
Just like Kojima's.
But I started watching Dimension 20, and I've been watching a shit ton of that recently in the last couple months. And so it was nice.
You know what? Just remember, D&D's not a board game.
Yes,
I
there you
will put it at 10, just so that I'll talk about it first.
There you
And that
go.
way your list doesn't get too fucked. You only have to change 1 item.
Okay.
go. Okay. So yeah.
Just know that it's really a lot higher.
Jeff, what is your honorable mentions?
I didn't really think of any honorable mentions. But technically, my entire list is an 11 through 2, and I'll get to that when we get to after number 1.
Okay. I don't
Yes.
know. That feels sort of like that similar D&D thing that just happened there.
No,
except
this is
except that you knew it beforehand.
Correct. And I didn't want to fuck up everything, but it's something I want to have as an honorable mention, but I want it
Afterwards.
after number
Okay.
1.
All right, that's fine.
Okay. That's fair.
It's technically A. I don't know, whatever the fuck you want
Sure.
to call it. Yeah.
S tier?
Yeah, S. Triple S.
He's a 0. That's number 0.
Yes, number 0 on my list.
All right, so going into the number 10s, I'll go first because everybody just heard what my number 10 is going to be. It's D&D, and I can't believe that I actually left this one off my list, and I think some of that is because
Because it's not a board game. That's why you didn't think about it.
it's been so ubiquitous. I mean, depending on how you want to define board game, sure. Mile High Dungeon Delvers kept going through the whole pandemic. We switched to streaming. That was a just as much of a challenge for Dungeon Delvers as it was for game guys, especially
Going all
even
remote.
honestly, even more there because I had to figure out how to work like tabletop
Video.
simulator stuff in and like doing maps on the fly and like things like that. And it was really, really shit because we had with season 2 that had started like, I don't know, back in January of 2020, we got art done. We got custom minis made that we all painted. Like we were so set for doing in person. And then we did almost the entire campaign remotely.
And then the funniest thing happened.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the funniest thing happened. So, D&D was huge. I also, unfortunately, my other campaign that I had been DMing for, it did not. We tried one game remote, and it did not work as well. And I think that's kind of the reason D&D didn't jump to mind for me is because for me, more than board gaming, D&D lost a lot of what I love about it going remote. Like it was still great getting to do that every 2 weeks and getting to see the rest of the Dungeon Delvers and like interact with them. But D&D online lacks a very crucial aspect of what makes D&D fun for me. And it just was never as good. So although Dungeon Delvers kept going, my other campaigns that I was involved in all kind of shriveled up and died. And so, yeah. Dungeon Delvers, though, we finished up that campaign. We're in the middle of prepping for season 3. And
Doing one-shots?
Yep, we've been doing a couple one-shots. And it's been great still getting to do that. So
Yeah, I heard the stories of the one-shot on Wednesday at our game night.
Same here.
nice.
It was entertaining.
Good.
I'm glad I had an impact.
yes. The Quinn safe zone basically reappeared.
Yay!
But yeah, so D&D's my number 10. Jeff, what about you? What's your number 10?
My number 10 is Twilight Struggle, the application. It is a phenomenal 2-player game, which I love a lot. I am not good at it, but I did play the fuckload out of it over the last year to try and get better at it, just against the AI. I never played it with another person because the only people that were playing it were Boyd and Paul.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to do that.
And I don't want to do that.
No.
But Twilight Struggle is a very, very good app that I played a bunch and very much enjoyed that. And I will have a lot of other apps coming up on this list because those helped a lot for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Twilight Struggle. You know what? Still very good game.
Yeah.
Even though it's not number 1 on BGG anymore or whatever, number 6 or whatever the fuck it is now.
It's dropping precipitously.
Yeah, but
It's garbage is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, you know what? Number 6? Pff, what horse shit is that?
Exactly.
Is it just an all-encompassing board game D&D version a la Gloomhaven? Well, I don't want to play it if it's not.
Zach, what about you? What's your number 10?
Well, it wouldn't be one of our lists if we didn't include 2 games in one spot.
Yes.
And it's right off the bat, but in that same vein, and also I just sort of wanted to get them out of the way, was Cartographer and Gons, Sean Clever. Basically the apps that I played throughout all of this, because they were nice distractions, but it's always nice to have those little puzzles, around on your phone if you got a couple minutes.
And it helps their quality.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Gons is not the best UI to get into the game, but the game itself is very good.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
And Cartographers was amazing.
Oh, it's such a good app for that, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my 2.
Cool.
That's my number 10, rather.
Yes.
And 11.
And no.
Moving on to 9s. Jeff, let's start with you. What's your number 9?
My number 9 is where we start our inconsistencies. It's Root on specifically Tabletop Simulator.
So not the Steam version or anything like that?
Not the Steam version,
Okay.
the Tabletop Simulator version of Root.
Okay.
It is an extremely well done implementation of Root, and so much so that it was actually like Leader Games supported,
Yes.
along with a lot of their other Tabletop Simulator stuff. You I mean, they have an official app version that you get all of the fancy 3D new graphics and stuff like that, but this is just like the board game, the digital implementation.
Yes.
And the couple times I played it, it was all very fun, and I really like Root, and I don't play it enough, and I want to get good at cats. I want to get so good at cats because everyone doesn't like cats, and I want to get good at cats.
Okay. Well, I wish you luck in that endeavor.
I know. They're
I think people just don't like it because they're fairly simple, and they spend a lot of time feeling like they get beat up on because of the way they start spread out everywhere.
And I want to get good at cats because every faction should be competitive.
Oh yeah.
And I feel
like they are. You just haven't found it yet.
Exactly, and I want to find it. I want to find the cat.
I think it's just that they're actually playing by golf rules. So,
like the crows are very good against them because they can just pop up anywhere, and the cats have to very much like move and out of their little zones, and they're about building a wall, and other factions just like the moles and crows and stuff, they just pop up, and then you're like, well, fuck. How do I deal with that? And I just want to know how to deal with that. I don't know. I want to figure it out. I want to figure out the strategy. I'm sure someone knows.
Yeah.
It's not me.
I guarantee there somewhere on BGG there's probably a very long strategy write-up of how to dominate as cats.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And then on that list, it's like people are like, yeah, cats are overpowered. They just win all the time.
Cats don't need a strategy. You just have to do anything and you win because you start everywhere.
I feel that's not true in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Root. And I'm glad there was a way to play it distanced and a very good way to do that.
Yes, for sure.
Makes sense, yeah.
Zach, what about you? What's your number 9?
My number 9 is Marvel Champions. And honestly, it's not even specifically about the game, although I did play it a couple times. It was the thing that I just kept buying throughout the pandemic.
Me too.
And that it was nice to have something to just be like, oh, right, new things are coming out for it. New games still exist, people. And so it was nice to be able to just continuously get those, even though like a lot of games that you buy, you're like, I buy it and now I put it on a shelf and that's where it's going to stay forever. But it was.
I at least broke them out into like their tabletop simulator mod and played like against Rhino just so I could play with them.
Right. But I remember we played a 1 or 2 games of it on Tabletop Simulator as well. And that mod was really cool because of just how ridiculous and how many licensed characters
it
they
just
had.
had like fan made decks and stuff. It had like tons of invincible characters and like
it had Pokemon Trainer. It had
Harry Potter.
Yeah,
just like crazy stuff, like a lot of tabletop simulator mods did.
Yes,
they just went crazy, go nuts with everything they possibly could.
Yeah. It was that first wave of tabletop simulator mods. You're like, oh, these are great, and you're like, and I'm stuck here and I can play them, and then Fantasy Flight, and then we're like, oh, maybe we should like cut some of these out because
just a little bit.
Because I can just play Arkham Horror LCG without anything else, and it's probably better.
Yeah.
Like a lot of tabletop simulator implementations.
Some of them are. It takes so much of the fiddliness out.
Very good.
I think we'll discuss that in depth on some of our various aspects of the list.
Yes, very much so.
Cool.
So that's 9.
That's 9. My number 9 is Just One. And this is specifically actually...
No, this is 9. You're not doing 1 yet. You're doing 9.
It's the board game Just One in position 9. Yeah. So this is actually, if we're going to be specific about which like implementations, this is the physical implementation. So 2 different times during the year, Megan and I went to visit her family in Michigan, who are also like, we're super taking things very seriously. The first time was post-vaccine. The first time was pre-vaccine. We, took a calculated decision about what levels of risk we were all willing to accept. And turns out Just One is fantastic for playing a socially distanced outdoors game. Nobody really needs to interact or touch. You don't need to, like, just one person can, do the card and like put it on everybody's different little stand and you write on your own stand. And yeah, it worked out really, really well. And it's a very accessible game. Like, turns out people who don't know board games, don't play any board games, like they can play a simple little word game. And so it was both times we went up there, it was a big hit with various members of her extended family that we got to see. and people who don't play any games at all. And so that was Just One was one of a couple games on my list here that we played during those trips that were some of the only in-person games I got to play for the last 16 months. And it was incredibly refreshing to be like, oh yeah, like people and games are fun when they're physically in the same general vicinity.
Oh,
Okay.
So Just One. That moves us on to the 8s. Wraps up the 9s. Moving on to some 8s.
8.
Zach, how about you start with the 8s?
My number 8 is Orleans Invasion. So that was the expansion to the base game.
Cooperative?
Yeah, it added a cooperative scenario.
Aha.
And that's the one that we played. And that was one of the few like new things I played that were older. Because the majority of stuff that I played was either things I'd already played previously or one or two new things. But this is like one of the few ones I played that was like, oh, this is actually, 5+ years old that we finally brought out, and it was real fun. I thought the cooperation element added a lot of interesting like thoughts. You had like it was a cool puzzle to try and work out with everyone, and we all seemed to like it. So
cool.
I have not played any Orleans.
I don't think I've ever played it either. Yeah,
I know it's popular.
Yeah, I've
made a lot of money.
Heard really good
on
things.
Kickstarter specifically.
Yeah, cool. Jeff, what about you? What is your number 8?
My number 8 is Kingdom Death Monster. It is one of the many games that we got together every other weekend, and still continued to play our campaign in person for the duration. We had our Kingdom Death Hour on the podcast many, many, many times, and it's not one that we've broken out anytime recently because we've played a lot of other campaign-related games, but Kingdom Death was definitely one of the few things early on that we got together to even play, and that was one of the only things that we played, period, back March, April, May of last year, was that group. So,
yeah,
Kingdom Death kept on keeping on. People of the Bone.
Right on.
We gotta finish them off here pretty soon.
we do.
There's not many of them left.
No, there's not.
Cool. So for me, my number 8, for basically all of the exact same reasons that Just One was my number 9, it gets slightly higher because it's a better game that I have more fun with. Wavelength. It was another game that was super popular. That one does involve a little bit more touching of the board, so we didn't play it with quite as many people. That was definitely more of playing it with just like Megan and her immediate family. Once everybody else had either like before they got there or after they left. And that was one of the only games that we actually played inside. We were always trying to find games to play outside, where we could be out in the open air as much as possible. Wavelength continues to be a bunch of fun. And it's always, you just get those ridiculous questions about trying to find the perfect spot on a scale. And then like when somebody just barely misses, like they talk through all the reasons why it should be right where it is. And then they're like, but I feel like it's probably 2 clicks down. And then they just miss from hitting like the 4. And it's like, wow.
It could be a boat.
Yeah.
Be a boat. What's in the box? Well, it could be a boat.
So
I did play Wavelength over the last year, and it was definitely one of those unscored, just kind of keep chatting and moving the dial sort of games. Like, who cared about the scoring? We weren't playing teams. It was just sort of everyone was trying to get the dial in the right spot because it was only like 4 people total.
Yeah.
So
sounds like a fun little laid back way to do it too.
Totally.
Cool. Well, that wraps up the 8s already. So we're moving along to 7s, cooking right along. Jeff, how about you start us off here? What was your number 7?
Number 7 was the Mystic Vale app that they released over the last couple of years. I am one that loves Mystic Vale. I own all of Mystic Vale, and I wish they did better with Mystic Vale, but the app did a very good version of Mystic Vale. The AI was very challenging in my flight to Chicago to get the new car this past December. It was what I did in the airport the whole time and the flight. And I bought they have the like first 2 expansions on there, Veil of Magic and the
fucking Veil of Magic.
Yeah.
Why'd you have to remind me about that?
And then like Mana Storm or whatever the second one was.
I think it's Mana Storm.
Yeah.
Something Mana.
Yeah. Very good implementations. had a lot of fun with it. Very competitive, even just playing against the AIs was very well done. And it makes me miss Mystic Vale, but it also doesn't make me miss Mystic Vale's cleanup process or anything related to that giant Conclave box nightmare that I have.
Oh, yeah.
That they immediately dropped support for because they were like, oh, we're going to release Conclaves for everything else. This next couple expansions, you can print them off online. They come with the fucking...
Yeah, that's really annoying. Jesus.
Rude.
They haven't released anything for it for a while, so... Yeah, Mystic Vale, the application. Very, very, very good and very fun and well implemented.
Awesome. I'll go next. For me, my number 7, Pandemic Legacy Season 1.
Season 1
on Tabletop Simulator.
This was a second playthrough.
Indeed.
With just you and Megan,
Just
right?
me and Megan, yep. So Zach and I had started Season 1 way back with, I want to
Wes?
say
No,
Bob.
Bob and David.
David.
And
I play with Wes.
yeah.
Yes, you play with us.
And then it eventually kind of fizzled.
Season 2.
Season 2
No,
is
we
where
did
it
finish
fizzles.
Season
You
1,
finished
all
Season
4
1.
of us.
We
That's
were-
right.
And then
Because we were extremely competitive in our final scores.
That's
we were
right.
only off by
That's
like
right.
10, and I think we won by
yeah.
1-ish points or something insane.
Yeah.
And then
We had finished
Oh, breaking out the box.
our last game of our first campaign was December 2nd, 2016.
Jeez.
So it had been over 4 years since I had played.
Yeah.
And I felt that was long enough
Get a second play.
that I felt comfortable playing it again.
And Megan had never played.
Megan had never played. Megan had no idea about it. Like, I barely even talked to her about it when we played it. So I broadly let her make a lot of the decisions because I could remember some of the starting decisions and things that would happen. And then I remembered some of the end things, like, that would
The
come
end
up.
things, I remember I would make very different decisions
Yes,
during the game had I
very true.
known blank.
Yeah, and like part of me wants to be like, it's like 5 years. The statute of limitations has to be
Yeah.
expired on this. But if not, if you care about Pandemic Legacy Season 1 spoilers, skip ahead like 30 seconds. Yeah, Megan got real heavy into building military bases, and I was like, oh, this is not
This is not
not
gonna be
what
good.
we want to do.
nope.
We did not finish. We got within like, I don't know, 2 months. We're down to the final 2 months, but it was one of those things. We did it every so often, and we do like 1 or 2. And then just other things started coming up, and we started finding other ways to have fun. I think ski season really interfered because we started spending our days off up skiing and or snowboarding. But especially early on, that was one of the few things that I got to play. I got to play it with Megan.
I remember you going into Slack and being like, how do I make text easy to write on things?
Yeah, I figured I found some sort of workarounds. That's one of the complaints that I have with Tabletop Simulator. I wish there was a better way to just write on an asset rather than have to like manipulate a text box into the exact right size and shape
Yeah.
and then sticky it to the object. But yeah, we were able to make it vaguely work well enough. But it was a lot of fun. She really was enjoying the story up to that point. I think she'd really like Season 2, so we need to at some point finish Season 1, and then I will probably purchase a physical copy of 2 to try and play in person.
And I mean,
There is something very
You two
nice
still have
about-
to finish your Season 2,
Correct.
if I am correct.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, we
and then we can start doing our 0 at some point.
Ant, Kaiser, and Wes and myself were just talking about when we wanted to start up Season 0 at game night on Wednesday.
Okay.
And all of our schedules are all fucked. And we're like, every other Sunday? I don't, but
right.
like,
Yeah. The joys of modern adult scheduling things.
Yes.
So
It's like, I'm good on Thursdays. I can't do Thursdays. We can do Tuesdays.
I
Can't do
can-
Tuesdays. Mondays I records. Fridays I record.
Yeah.
Wednesdays are game night. But
Yeah, exactly.
So, Pandemic Legacy Season 1 on Tabletop Simulator is my number 7. It's pretty good implementation, aside from the needing to write to fill in things.
you would hope there would have been a better implementation for writing on things.
You would
'cause
think.
there's a lot of that in the legacy pandemics.
Yeah, but otherwise, everything else works really well. Stickers, you can really easily like attach things and stuff like that. So that all works really smooth. But that's my 7. Zach, what about you? What's your 7?
My number 7 is Lord of the Rings Journeys Through Middle Earth, in Middle Earth.
Woo! Journeys in the Middle
In
Earth.
Middle Earth. And
Jime.
yeah, that makes it so much better to remember.
You know, I wasn't writing out the whole thing, so I wrote LOTRJIME, Loader Jime.
Loader Jime, exactly. Good old Loader Jime. But one reason why I would say this is lower on the list is just because it was like near the tail end for us.
Yeah.
But it's been really enjoyable to be another campaign, multi-game campaign.
A lot of campaigns. On my list.
Yes. And I think it's a real good mix of Mansions of Madness with Imperial Assault style play.
Yeah.
And it's just been the game that we were playing weekly for a long time.
Yeah. And then Paul got a wood shop and we haven't played yet.
Yes. And also we've just been busy too. So
yeah.
It's like, yeah. But it's
cheap.
It's definitely not cheap.
Not for me, at least.
No. I mean, it was free for me, so I like that. But I think it just continues to show that apps, like app-dependent games, they don't need to be everywhere, but they can really enhance the gameplay.
But if only it was voiced.
If only it was voiced by Piccolo, that would be great.
That would be fantastic.
I don't think Fantasy Flight has that kind of money, though.
Oh,
Fantasy
no?
Flight doesn't have Piccolo money?
No, they don't have Piccolo money.
But Plaid Hat does?
Yeah. Well.
It's all that pirate booty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just bought themselves out of Asmodee, so they have plenty of money.
I'm sure. It was very cheap to do that.
Sure it was.
Right on. Well, that wraps up the sevens. So we move on into some sixes. I'll start us off in 6. My number 6 is Age of Steam. Again, this is a tabletop simulator, as is most of my list, to be honest. I think I have one more physical game on my list. Yeah, 2 more. Age of Steam on tabletop simulator. We started playing this midway through the pandemic a little bit. I played with Josh and Chris and Boyd and a couple other people here and there. I think we did 3 games total of it. And there for a while, we were doing it like once a week. And I rapidly burnt the fuck out. Because I remembered that there are some things about Age of Steam that, as my tastes in like heavier train games have progressed, I don't love as much. It can be a little bit mean and fuck you-y, especially if you play with people who like to play that way. But it was nice. We got to play on a couple different maps. The tabletop simulator, this is another game where the mod for that is fucking amazing, to the point that like it has a bunch of scripted things that place cubes for you. And does things on the board, and it's really easy to keep track of things. Has a really good, clean graphic design on Tabletop Simulator. So yeah, it was nice. That was probably the best of all the games on my list. That was the one that I was the best, at least for a time, about playing with like people from Slack and stuff. Like actually, getting involved on the Looking for Game group channel in our Slack. Getting involved in playing some games with people there.
I mean, most of our Slack traffic seems to be DM related, so
a substantial amount of it.
Yeah,
it is certainly DMs would be like the second most popular channel if you did them as one channel.
There's just a bunch of sliding everywhere.
Yeah, slick those DMs.
Yep,
just slide right into them.
Just slide right in. Yeah,
I would not describe anything as slick.
My basement floor was after that flood. Anyway,
they're damp, they're moist. I don't know.
Slick.
Anyway, Age of Steam is my number 6. Moving right along, Zach. What about you? What's your number 6?
My number 6 is Feast for Odin. Specifically the tabletop simulator mod that we played. This was I think one of the first ones that I remember at least playing with us on Tabletop Simulator to just try and get some games played.
Yeah.
And this was also one of the ones I was like, oh, wow, some of these mods are really good.
Yeah.
And I just remember like being able to lock down the spots in the map so they're not just jostling around like they can be in real life. I just remember really liking that. And
Lock it in.
That was one that one of the first ones I had dealt with that had a lot of scripting to it that worked really well. Unless you did like one wrong thing as Jeff, and
like
then
mine just didn't do it.
Yeah,
I would have to manually pull them all back
because you did one thing wrong.
Yeah,
that it also like scripts is just they can be really
the script sometimes breaks.
Yes,
yeah.
But otherwise. I just remember we played it a couple times and it was really enjoyable each time, and I thought it worked really well in the tabletop simulator setting.
Yeah.
So
It was one of the only games that we streamed.
That and did we do Terraforming
We
Mars?
we did
Terraforming
Terraforming
I think
Mars.
that was
Yep.
it. Yeah.
Sure enough was.
Yeah.
So, and that's another one. The being able to lock tiles in place on Tabletop Simulator is easily one of the best quality of life things that it has over real life.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, all these little polyominoes that I'm trying to like balance, like, oh, I can lock them all so that like even if someone like jostles the table, which you can kind of do even in Tabletop
Mhm.
Simulator, it's like, oh, they don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
They're fine. Whereas in real life, it's like, yeah, it's all fucked.
I played Isle of Cats and it was a problem.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. It also works really. I like it really a lot because I can lock once I'm done and I lock it on my board. It's locked.
Mhm.
So when I start getting new things, I can spend a little bit of time like moving them around. It's
Exactly.
like if it moves, it's free to move around.
Yeah.
If when I'm done, I lock them down and then,
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good one.
Solid.
Jeff, what about you? What's your number 6?
My number 6 is Under Falling Skies. This was ended up being the Golden Geek winner for solo. I want to
yes,
say,
yeah.
It may have been print and play in a previous year or something like that. But it's basically the XCOM base building, the board game
Oh,
slash Galaga.
Okay.
There's like spaceships coming down from the top, and then you're digging down and like using die to place into various buildings that are underneath. It is purely a solo game. There is a ton of different cities and building spots that kind of build into a campaign. I got that as a physical board game from the Mike Jones owned, as we all know, Wizard's Chest. Totally doesn't just
Sure.
only work there. Yeah, Under Falling Skies, I very, very, very much enjoyed as a solo game. This was around when I was trying to learn Nemo's War, which I have still not learned, but also purchased as a solo game. Takes up a lot of table space.
Yeah.
But Under Falling Skies does not have a huge table space. It is totally print and play. On
Okay.
top of, you can buy the fancy board game version of it. I think the print and play version doesn't have all of the huge variants that come with the physical version, but
Okay.
Under Falling Skies is an extremely good solo game that I would highly recommend.
Awesome.
And I like the theme, aliens invading Earth and fighting them off with jets and whatever.
It's a great
the,
thing.
The XCOM kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yep.
Zach, you are up for starting us off on the 5s. We're in the top half.
Top half. All right. So my number 5 is Terraforming Mars, the tabletop make Mars green again.
Yes. Make Mars green again.
Okay.
Which was something that we streamed.
Yes, we
It
did.
is, yeah.
And until you mentioned that we streamed Feats for Odin, I was going to say, because this was the only game we streamed from Tabletop Simulator, because I forgot about it. But this was another one that I know that was the first one that we streamed.
Yes.
And it was just nice to be able to play it on here again. And that mod is just real fucking good.
Oh, yeah.
That was definitely it was definitely like a lot of the other mods I'd played have been like, it's like the game, but it's a better, like, it's just a digital, but like cleaner version of it. Like this is the first one was like a lot of the shit looks real different, except for just the game components, but there's so many extra things that just really help gameplay.
Very good scripting.
And very good scripting, that is correct. Unless you mess up a little
You
bit.
fuck up one thing and then
Yeah.
it's always like the setup that's like,
Yeah.
how do we draft in the beginning? I don't know, just adjust it and it'll do it.
Just hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool.
Terraforming Mars continues to be good. I
Yes,
got
it
I got
does.
that big box. I organized that big box.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I
I've got it actually on my little stream shelf here.
Yeah, I still need to.
That's not the big
That's
box.
not the big box.
No. I did not get the big box.
I got the big box.
I got the big box, and it is still.
Terraforming Mars quality. Hooray!
Well, no, I was going to say it is still in the packaging because I haven't
Mhm.
even opened up the box that it came in yet. So
Terraforming Mars quality. So you mean like best component runner up Terraforming Mars?
yeah, same level.
You know what? At least the box is very nice.
Yes.
That's
Well,
what
there
I'll
you
say.
go.
Yeah.
All right. So continuing on in the 5s. Jeff, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Codenames Duet Online. Codenames came out, the Codenames people, whoever makes Codenames, they came out with an actual like web app.
CZA.
Yeah.
CZA.
Or CGA.
Czech
Games Edition. Yes.
CGE. There you go. You got
Wow. I got there eventually.
Yeah. They came out with like a full-on web implementation of Codenames. If you want to get together with a group of friends and just go to the website, do your little Zoom call, and play Codenames, you totally can. And they have the duet version on there. As someone that was attempting to date during the COVID pandemic of the last year, it was a very good date night game. For Zoom calls. I did it multiple times, and it was very successful every time. I'm still single. But it worked very, very, very well for, an icebreaker, hanging out kind of thing. And just them being able to put that out there for people to play was very nice.
Yes.
And I really, really enjoyed how they did it.
Yeah. I've messed around on the website a little bit, and it looks really clean, very functional. But I haven't actually played any of the Codenames.
It's
stuff.
fun.
So.
Yeah, you can just do your little Google Meet and hang out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Alrighty, that brings it around to me for number 5s. My number 5, this stays in the physical realm. It is Copper Country. So this is an unexpected entrant. I would have never, if you'd asked me about a top 10 games that I would have thought would get me through a pandemic before the pandemic, it would have never been anywhere near my radar. And really what made this one is it's another one I got to play in person. I took it to Michigan the last time we went up there. Everybody was post-vaccines, and so we were a little bit more comfortable playing real board games around a real table, shoulder to shoulder. And Copper Country turned out to be just a huge hit. Megan's sister kept requesting it. I probably played it 4 or 5 times in the 4-day trip that we had.
You've probably played it the most of anyone that owns Copper Country.
Ever.
Aside from the designers, I am sure.
I don't know. We'll see. You have to ask.
It's well designed enough. I feel like they did a fair amount of playtesting. So
you're saying it's not like the campaign for North Africa?
Correct.
Okay.
Where they're just like, we have no idea what will happen in this edge case because no one's ever seen it.
No, they
before.
just say, oh, you haven't played it long enough. Then
also, yeah.
Well, after you play it like 10 times, then you'll really see.
Yeah.
But then, no.
Then you'll really get the intricacies.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it just ended up being a very a lot of fun to play, and it was very popular on the trip. And so we played it a lot, and just how having somebody be like getting to see someone be so excited about a game that they request it like day after day after day on a trip like that is really nice. Like that's something you see sometimes when like somebody gets new into the hobby. Like I remember being there with Catan when I first learned about Catan. Like, holy shit, I just want to play this all the fucking time. Munchkin, I got real into Munchkin early on.
We all did. We all did.
Yeah,
we all
made that mistake. We had 7 or 8 versions of Munchkin.
Yeah,
we all have that shame.
Mm-hmm. So it was really good getting to see that kind of exuberance, like from someone again about a game.
She's got flashbacks,
especially because it's a
owning
significant
Munchkin Quest.
No,
Oh.
Well, no, not even that. No, of playing Munchkin for 24 hours.
Oh.
At Dragon Con.
No.
Including one game that was 10 or 12 people.
Oh my god.
And I enjoyed all of it.
Oh. And I loved it.
And I loved it.
But yeah, so Copper Country is my number 5. Moving on to some number 4s. Jeff, take us away on number 4.
Number 4 for me is Twilight Imperium 4th edition Tabletop Simulator. This was a 12-hour game?
12-hour game.
11 hours?
11 to 12 hours.
11 to 12 hours.
We started at 6. It was 11 because we finished at like 5.
Yeah. I love the Tabletop Simulator app, whatever you want to call it, for
it's the
Twilight
best,
Imperium.
It's the best one of any of the ones that we've mentioned so far.
And ever played.
Yeah.
Fuck the physical version of this game from here on out.
Gotcha.
Like, if you ever play, you'll want to get like a big touchscreen tablet and just play like on the tablet in person instead of actually setting up the whole game.
I mean, 100% I would love to do that. But
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
If I could get like a table-sized screen or touch screen, crazy Microsoft horseshit, and do that, I totally would.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I guess it would be hard with cameras and hands and stuff like that. But anyways, it got me everything I ever wanted out of a Twilight Imperium game, to where, it kind of ticked over the timer of like, we got to wait a little while before the next Twilight Imperium game.
Got to wait another 2 months, is that, Jeff?
Yeah, I think that's when
the timer reset, it wasn't as long this time.
I hope so. But that 8-player game is going to make that timer real long.
Yeah, well
are you guys scheduling an 8-player game?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, God.
At Cabin Con.
Oh God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jeff, are you with me that it better be a fucking 10-point game and not a 14-point
Correct.
game? Okay.
And
good.
I'm pushing for timers.
Yeah.
There's people pushing back, but they weren't around
They weren't.
last time.
Yeah.
I think we need to push, and it's 8 players is absolute crazy bonkers. Way too many players for Twilight Imperium, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic.
It's gonna be great. Yeah. We're gonna have Boyd right in between us, and then he experienced the highs of Twilight Imperium. Now he's gonna experience the lows.
He's going to experience player elimination in the world of Twilight Imperium.
He might be the real winner then, getting to go home after 6 hours.
Yeah, that's
It's
very,
not even
very
going
true.
home.
Or not go home, but go to the next game. Go to his room.
Yeah. But yeah, it was fantastic. It was great. I would love to play some Twilight Imperium 4th edition with that in maybe a lower player count, which it seems like no one has ever done lower than max. And I have enjoyed 3rd edition lower than max player count games.
We did one 4-player version of it.
Yeah.
It was at your place, and we did it on a Friday night, and we started it on Friday at evening and finished that same night. It was 4.5, 5 hours.
Yeah,
it can be done.
It's a reasonable timed game, and I
Yep.
would really, really like to do that in this version of it because it is so good. And it's one of the favorite games I have played over the last year.
Yep.
Cool. Moving on, my number 4 is previously mentioned by Zach, Feast for Odin Online. It's one of the 2 games we streamed for the show, so that puts it pretty high up there. That was something for some normalcy for the show, like doing a stream, interacting with viewers while we play a game. I know I played it at least 2 or 3 times over the course of the pandemic, so it was one of my more played games. And then, that mod is so good on Tabletop Simulator for it. And Feast for Odin is just good in general. It was also this...
With the Norwegians expansion.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I think the only time I've played Norwegians have been the 3 digital plays.
Really?
I don't know if I played Norwegians in person.
I think we reviewed it.
I think
Did
we
we
reviewed
review
it.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you have played Norwegian.
No, you're right.
you know,
I did.
no,
It just had been a while.
No, actually,
Yes.
now that I remember during the review, you and I were talking about it, and Adrian was just like, I haven't played this, so I don't know what I'm doing here.
Sounds like something I'd say, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it had just been a while. Because I remember when you were first playing, it was like, oh, yeah, Norwegians changed, a lot of stuff. Wait, how do I do this thing again? But no, continues to be really good. Big fan of Feast for Odin's online implementation. Big fan of Feast for Odin with Norwegians as a game in general. So that's my number 4. Zach, what about you? What's your number 4?
So my number 4 is Forgotten Waters, which, if I remember when we talked about in that very limited section of what our favorite things were in 2020 for gaming, this was number 1 on my list. It was definitely the best game I played that came out that year. This was not app implementation as much as just a website implementation.
Yeah.
But it was a game that had real good, like we were saying, it was all of the scenarios were fully voice acted by Piccolo.
And others.
That's true.
Just all Piccolo all the time.
All Piccolo all the time. Everybody had the same voice. You could never tell who anybody was.
Just all voices were Piccolo.
Sabin? Chris
Sabin, I think. Yeah. But so it was good to have that media aspect to it, because even with a lot of the app implementations, you get the music, maybe a little bit of voice acting in the beginning, but it was just nice to end. I remember we were the first time we played it, we were reading for a bit, and then we're like, let's just do the voiceover. Thank you. And then I remember when we were first saying it, I was like, yeah, but we're gonna lose a lot of it from us not saying it.
Yeah.
And then immediately was proven wrong, which was nice. Because I was like, okay, yeah, no, he's doing such a better job than
music,
we are.
There's sound effects, there's tons added to it with that.
They don't do that thing of you're reading halfway through and then you're like, oh, I can't remember how to pronounce this word. Those stuffs.
No.
Yeah.
And every person has a different voice. And it's we may have played through that first intro scenario completely reading it, and then at the second one I was like, let's
let's try the voice. And then we're like, oh,
let's try
God,
the
this is so
thing.
much better.
Oh, this is way better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
So much so that there is an additional scenario that you can buy for the game for $10 for one scenario. It comes with a couple other things, but it's only like
Comes with 100 extra side like encounters
Okay.
on top of.
which would have been great had we like bought it when we started, because then we could have had those things in there
Been popping up the whole
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe doing those will make replaying some of those other ones, because I definitely want to introduce that game to other people too.
Sure. Yeah.
And in this case, that's playing that. So I think the next time I play one of those scenarios, I'll definitely buy it, just so we'll have that available. But it was real fun. And once again, this was another.
Well, you got 2 whole pads of sheets.
I do have 2 whole pads of sheets.
I bought 2 extra pads of
You
sheets.
did.
For him.
Yeah.
The pirate character sheets, because we had
Okay.
blown through all of them, and I was like, well, they're only like $6. I may as well get 2.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
you can freely print them online as
Yes.
well, but I was like, meh,
Yeah.
whatever.
But yeah, it's another one of those campaign, even though it's not necessarily campaign, but just storytelling games that we were playing that was just real fun. So
That moves us to the number 3s. I'll start off with the number 3, especially because it's already been talked about. Terraforming Mars, Tabletop Simulator, Make Mars Green Again mod.
Whoa.
because you were the ones that introduced that to us.
I was the one who found it, yeah. So we had played...
I think we played it more than once.
We
streamed, and once we played with like
somebody else.
Slack people.
But
Well,
you
and
also played it with you played it first.
Yeah, so we had played at one point, I think all 3 of us,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not on a stream or something, but we had played once with it, just
With
the
John?
whatever the basic Tabletop Simulator mod is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not Make Mars Green Again. And it was
Yeah.
like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember how I got looking into it, because it was something about like, I think I just saw somebody post about it somewhere, like, oh, you got to do this, because you can't find it
You had to get it like
on
to
Steam.
Discord or
Yeah,
something.
you got to go to their Discord.
Yeah.
You got to go to the Make Mars Green Again Discord, and then they have the files there, and they regularly update them. It's a constant community project. I probably need to re-up mine soon, because who knows what the fuck they've changed. And then we tried that, and I played that, and I think maybe with John or somebody, and it was like, holy shit, this is really good. We should stream this. And then we did, and it was great. And then I definitely have played it a couple times since then. And then there were even like, I've recommended it in Slack when people were putting together a game of Terraforming Mars, be like, what mod are you using? If it's not Make Mars Green Again, let me know so I can send you the files for Make Mars Green Again, because holy shit, it's such a good mod. And then Terraforming Mars continues to be podcast number 1 popular for whatever year it came out. I don't remember, 2017, 16, 15, 14?
14? Pretty sure it's 14.
How has it been that long?
No, I think it's 16 or 7. It's 16, I think. It was one of our first reviews.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But yeah, continues to be really good.
2016.
Zach, what about you? What's your number 3?
My number 3, surprisingly enough, is Potion Explosion. But honestly, it's not even about the game. It was just a moment that happened in it. So we were playing on the Board Game Arena version of it, I think. One of those other online ones, the online board gaming things. That one, what is it? Tabletopia. Yeah, those sort of things. But I was playing with some friends, and normally I'm really good at remembering rules once I've played a game. That, like, majority of games that I've played, I could just play it again with very, very easy. But this one, it was a very sort of sobering moment, that because I wasn't actively in games for so long because of the pandemic, that a lot of that started to go off the wayside a bit. And I remember, I started the game, and the first move I did was such a bad move in that game, because the whole point of the game is about, like, you take a marble, and then any marbles that explode together, like, you get, right? So it's all about, and they explode based off of them being the same color. So if it's like 2 reds, a black, and then 2 more reds, you take the black, and then the reds hit each other, they explode, and then you get those as well. And so that's what the entire game is about having those chain explosions to get a bunch of marbles. And the first thing I did in that game was like, okay, I'm just going to take this random marble. All right, now I have 1 marble, and then everybody else has like 6 or 7. And I was like, why didn't my thing do like the thing that theirs did? And I was like, because you didn't do it right. And I was like, oh God, no.
Oh no.
Distant fourth in that game, but it was just nice to have that story moment of just being like, You've lost a lot of that information, Zach. You need to start retaining that again.
and then you studied, and that is why you have
become so
overall
good at the
dominated.
blade that you cannot even imagine.
Exactly. Yeah. You guys hung out, had friends. I studied the blade. Yes.
All right. So, Jeff, what about you? What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Lord of the Rings, Jime, Journeys in Middle-earth.
I think it was Loader Jime or something.
Loader Jime.
Jime.
I had picked up this game on some sale, and it's.
Did you pick it up after I had talked about it at BGG Con?
Yes,
okay.
this was long after,
Okay.
because I had picked up fairly recently to actually like playing it. It was some like Amazon deal of the day, and I was like, oh, that seems like a good price for that. And I don't think I know anyone that owns it, which is core to me buying really any board game these days.
Yeah. Is that why you didn't buy the 3rd or the 5th expansion for Arkham Horror?
Correct, because my copy of the game has not hit the table
Ever.
Yeah.
I think we played my copy first, and that was it.
Yeah.
I should probably unsleeve it because they're very valuable
Yes.
Fantasy Flight sleeves at this point.
Correct.
I just found a shit ton of them cleaning up, and I was like, oh.
Ooh. So Jime. Tons of fun. Picked it up on that Amazon sale. We played through the base. I think we played through maybe like one session, and then I bought everything else.
Yep.
Which added all of that content into the game.
And that includes the insert. The
broken token insert for it and its expansion, Shadowed Paths. And it is a very fun kind of one of those Imperial Assault-y sort of campaign-y Fantasy Flight games, which is super great. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Journeys in Middle-earth. Very fun, very great, very enjoyable campaign-y type game, which many of the games I have very much enjoyed over the last year have all been, because they have been in-person sort of hang out and play. I'm not painting them anytime soon.
So that brings up my number 2.
Brings up number 2's period.
Huh?
That was my number 3. So we're on number 2 now.
I definitely started scribbling things out that I shouldn't have then. So, Zach, you start us with number 2s.
Okay, I can do that. My number 2 has already been mentioned. It was the Twilight Imperium 4th edition tabletop simulator mod.
Because we played it at the same time.
Because we did play it at the same time, and it was definitely my best experience in a game, because it had been a while since we had played. And
you son of a bitch.
What?
Getting away with murder.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. It was so good. It was so good. And
I'm in first place, and I have Mechatol.
Yeah.
Jeff should be the one that is paying the price for this.
Right after I fucked everybody.
And you all lose. You all lost 2 strategy tokens, by the way.
Yeah.
Because of me. But Jeff is the one you want to vote against.
Oh yeah,
and everyone agreed with him.
Everybody agreed with me.
Monsters.
And then even after you were like, "Why did you do that?" And then everyone was just like, "Ah, I guess you're right." But then nothing came up.
Yeah.
It was so fun. Even though Boyd won with the heaviest of not actually asterisks, but
the house ruled.
The house ruled. But it was just so fun, and it was nice to have such a big long event game, because we hadn't
immediately started drinking after that event.
Yes. Yeah.
I had a lot of seltzer in that fridge.
Oh, I am sure you did.
I worked through it.
Yeah, but it was like we hadn't had an event game in such a long time.
Yeah.
And it was just so nice to get one of those in. And like you said, the mod was great, and everything was
phenomenal. Yeah. That mod is.
Yeah. No, if it had been just like a digital version of the board game, I think that would have been real tedious. But it just had so many fucking quality of life improvements.
And it was beyond more than just like dragging piece to piece to piece. You just right click on it and activate system, and it would move all of your pieces for you. You didn't have to click and drag really anything.
Well, and the combat was still the most impressive thing, that it knew everything that you needed it needed to know.
Because everyone had their own like
board
tableau.
That it's like putting cards down, activated them in your sector sort of shit. It was
like it knew what bonuses you had because it knew what cards would give you bonuses, and if it was in your area, it knew to add that bonus.
That's crazy.
Like I copied one of Zach's bonuses because of an alliance card or a promissory note card, and it knew to add that to my rolls from then on because that card was in my area. It wasn't even my card.
Yeah.
It was a copy of his.
It was a copy of mine. Yeah.
Which he gave to me without knowing that.
I sort of knew. I was just like, wow, you're going to have a lot of fucking.
I had a lot of PDS shots with a lot of bonuses.
This is going to be interesting.
Yep, it sure was. My planet turned into a.
And it was, what was also nice is that
4-shot deep space cannon,
a Gatling gun of space.
Yeah.
And it was nice because he never even used that stuff on me, so it was great.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
I don't remember even who. Did I have to defend against?
You did.
Necro maybe once?
Necro, both sides came at you at one point. So
yeah, and they all blew up real good.
Real good.
I like those Titans. They're Transformers.
Yeah. And it was real nice to play the expansion, too. That's also what it was. It was our first game with the expansion.
Yeah. We did. That was the first time expansion.
I'm glad to see, because they had, 17 in the base game.
Yeah.
Which was, all the expansion from the base of 3 with both of its expansions. They just added all of them in 4. So it's nice to get 7 new ones that felt like they all added
something new.
At least the ones we played felt like they all added something new, which is what you want in those races.
And the agents are much better.
Yes, they are.
Cool.
Than in 3, yeah.
Way better.
Yeah. Now because going to 4, it felt like you're missing some of the things from 3's expansions, and now it feels like we have everything. I have everything I would want from those, but in a better version. So
yes,
nice.
Yeah, that's my second one.
Right on. So my number 2. Now that we're actually to my number 2. Spirit Island. So this is also physical copy. This is another one that Megan and I got really into for a little while during the pandemic. At one point, we had a massive, clean the shit out of the dining room, got everything really clean, got the table really cleared off, promptly set up Spirit Island, and then left it set up as we continued to play. So we did a scenario card, and this is one of the things that I think really made Spirit Island great for the pandemic in general, and just for a couple who can dedicate a table to a game and let it sit there for months. Is one of the scenarios that we did was you just keep playing the same one and it gets harder and harder each time you win. And you just see how long you can keep doing it until you lose. They start stronger each time and you get fewer bonuses, and some things don't reset between games. So
Blight
I think Blight doesn't reset, and I don't think Dahan reset.
Okay.
But so we just left it set up, and occasionally we'd be like, hey, you want to play? It's already set up. And just that statement for a physical board game, especially one that can be as fiddly as Spirit Island with all of its different stuff. It's hey, it's already ready to go. Oh yeah, sure, let's go do that. And then we always we would nothing in the rules for that.
Not a small footprint.
No, large game takes up some space.
Yes.
Nothing in the rules for that scenario tells you to that you can't reuse the same spirits, but we kept intentionally trying to play with different ones just to kind of add to that challenge and kind of mix things up a bit. So it was great. And that was before I got Shattered Earth. So now I've got the Shattered Earth expansion, and I look forward to playing some more of that, because Spirit Island, real good. And it was a great game for Megan and I to get to play in person. So Pandemic Legacy was digital, and that was one thing that really helped us and kept us gaming. And then Spirit Island was easily the game that her and I played the most physically, which was great. So Spirit Island, my number 2. On to the ones. The tippy tip tops. Did I just skip you?
You did.
Oh.
Remember, because you were marking off.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, you're number 2.
Warhammer 40,000 9th edition. So it got me back into miniature painting in a way that I haven't been in 20 years.
Which is surprising, because you were playing Blood Bowl and getting teams and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so it's not like you didn't have the ability to do it.
No, and I would just paint them to the bare minimum effort.
Yes, you would. I definitely saw some of those orcs that I played. I'm like, yep.
Those are 3 colors, all right.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, this looks like you need a minimum difference. And then,
And this got me into painting miniatures with effort. and playing a game with them and assembling them and putting them in places where they are stored correctly and getting tons and tons of paints and paintbrushes. And what really triggered it was the new contrast paints that had come out over the past couple of years, which are kind of like a highlight and base coat all kind of in one. So you don't have to really do the base layer and then layer color. This sort of is all in one. It's kind of like a fancy ink that makes stuff look real good. And I've painted some of the best miniatures I think I've ever painted with them. And it was sort of just a really cool sit at home and, watch something while painting sort of. I have to just sit at home now kind of hobby. And it just so happened they came out with that Indomitus box for 9th edition that came with the rules and everything. And it was a really good deal for what it was. And then I got the Mike Jones Friends and Family discount on top of it, which is very useful for anything miniature related.
For sure.
And yeah, I have like a bunch of stuff. And then when I went back and got the new car in Chicago, I brought back a bunch of my 40K stuff from home. And I have been in the midst of stripping all of the old paint jobs on those. And will be trying to like repaint some of my old Imperial Guard stuff through that. I have quite the queue building up.
You got to get you a nice little like photography setup too, to where you can take fancy photos of them, start uploading.
I don't think anything I'm going to paint
is
fancy enough to take photos of, but I think I do. I think I do all right. But yeah, it's opened up that whole miniature painting world for me that I like. Oh, I can do this, and it's easy and fun, and I have the materials and way to do it. I ended up even playing a game of 9th edition with Thursby. With just kind of like the Indominus box versus like his old orcs he's had for years and years. And it's neat how they broke the game down into like a power level now instead of just distinct points, where every little thing is worth like 3 points here or 6 points there because this guy has this item and that you have a plasma pistol. It's a little more powerful, so that's going to be a little couple more points.
And especially when you're dealing with 1,000-point games and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's for like competitive stuff where like you can just use power level and that like this is just for fun. Like you have 50 power level, like this unit's worth 12. You can equip them however you want because that like 6 points here versus that 12 points there is not going to really make a huge difference when you're just playing for fun and not some competitive tournament.
Sure.
So much so that all of the books even now have just power levels in them, and you have to buy another book that actually has points breakdowns. Yeah, so if you buy it...
That doesn't seem like Games Workshop. To get
you mean splitting out things to make you spend more money to get the thing that you...
No, that doesn't seem right.
But also, they don't make any but like average customers pay for the more nitty-gritty one, which is surprising in a way, too.
And some do... I think some older ones break them down into both, but I have very much enjoyed the like power level breakdown of the new edition. But yeah, that was definitely my like, I can sit at home and do this hobby thing and not go insane and not just sit in front of a computer screen and play video games or whatever else, just kind of like do a hobby thing.
Sure.
Which not everyone could do.
Yeah.
Everyone got a lot of hobbies over the last year.
Or at least tried to.
Yeah. And that one was not a cheap one, but one that I very much enjoyed. And I look forward to getting everything else really going good in there. And I really thank contrast paints for that. So really number 2 is contrast paints.
Nice.
All right. Well, now we move to number 1s. Tippy tip tops of the list. Zach, how about you start us off? What's your number 1?
Well, my number 1 is definitely the game I played most during all of this. And it was Kingdom Death Monster, unsurprisingly.
Woo.
That was definitely like the first game that we like came back to play in person.
My first game was drinking.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
and then
Kingdom
Death Monster.
And then Kingdom Death Monster. And it was for a long time that was the only game that we actually played in person.
Yeah.
And it was just nice to be able to have that and it was nice to just experience all those different campaigns because
We went through a couple.
Depending
on who was there.
Depending on who was there,
We added Eric.
Yep.
We added a 5th player into the game, which was a much better house rule system than
what's actually in the game.
and printed. Yeah.
And it was just nice. Just at that point, it was just nice to meet someone that wasn't someone at work or someone in the house.
Yeah.
So, that's why
I mean, I got the pleasure of actually going into work in Boulder every day.
Mhm.
So I did see some people, but I also was
Same.
thrown on nights. So I
Right.
only got to see like packaging.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff, how about you? What's your number one?
My number one is Forgotten Waters, which was the game that sort of replaced Kingdom Death Monster as our every Sunday sort of game. Kingdom Death was, of course, on the list, but I loved Forgotten Waters so much. It was super funny. It was very enjoyable. I mean, we were able to knock.
That's one of the surprising things was that usually when games try and be funny, they can work well, but like this was like always it did a really good job with it.
Legitimately funny and entertaining with its weird things, like even just amazingly written in its failures, like when you were at the bar and you were playing like a drinking game.
No, I think I was trying to play darts.
Yes.
And then I messed, I threw real bad at
failed hard.
And like, I want to say it hit somebody and then they like looked at me and then like I pointed at somebody else and then like they started fighting and then the entire, tavern collapsed, but I was able to get out. And then
No. It was
or I was on fire.
It was a hilarious amount of failures.
Yeah.
That ended up like everyone got into a fight. They knocked over this. They knocked over that. The huge fiery the high ABV liquid hit a torch somewhere and a huge fire started and you were able to get out just as the explosion went off in the background. And then one of the other crewmates shows up and he's like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And you were like, "They were all traitors and I blew them up." And they're like, "Oh, awesome. Good job, dude."
And then I got some good shit out of it.
Yeah, and then you got like a positive outcome to it. And it was just this
The
long
worst-
thing of just like things that happened that were just like, "Oh, you fucked up big time." And
everything worked out.
everything worked out because you lied.
Yes. And I think a lot of that humor was helped by the voiceover.
Yes, very, very, very much so. The narrator in it,
Yeah.
Chris Sabin, of Vegeta fame in the most recent Dragon Ball American voiceovers. Very talented voice actor. And it was just entertaining top to bottom. The crew of some ship that kept attacking us because we killed their favorite chef, and then they were out for revenge for that chef, and you're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And then like it was me every time that was failing this test. And like I ended up like killing like the next favorite person the second time they attacked, and then they came back a third time, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I kept accidentally killing their favorite people on their ship, and they kept coming back for revenge.
And then I think
it's like, should I pull it out or leave the sword in?
Yeah.
And then you pull it.
And then two other quick ones of just Thursby trying to do the king's duty.
The kingly duties.
The kingly duties to the queen.
He chose that, but his character, his persona in the game chose kingly duties as a different definition of not so much like helping rule the kingdom as kingly duties
to the queen.
To the queen.
Yep.
Naturally.
And that wonderful
ending
failure
with that.
at the end there.
Yeah.
Just some side things of what were the numbers called?
I don't remember.
The series of numbers that's like the arc spiral sort of like perfect numbers. Fibonacci. There's a whole encounter of the Fibonacci series. Probably could have skipped over the voice acting for that one because they kept repeating it over and over very slowly.
Yeah.
But it was sort of like super weird, like fun things.
Yeah. And then the last one that I'll just mention is just the insult that was so bad that it basically got put on the like.
You insulted the other crew so well that the like Council of Pirates then added it to a list of like pirate war crimes that you are never allowed to repeat because you so crushed the other person. Not to mention that the game is very, very well implemented to be able to do over Zoom calls and over distance, to where you're just putting actions down on a sheet and you can pull up the web app and everyone can punch in everything as they wish. It's very extremely streamable. They had added a bunch of stuff on top of that to help stream it in like a distance sort of way. They did a very, very good job of making that game being able to be played, just over the internet.
Yes, exactly.
With someone with a camera that just points it at the board and go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice,
It was a very good game. Period.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That brings up my number one. My number one was Root. Both the app and the tabletop simulator versions.
You got the app on there. Huh?
Yeah, I got both on there. Okay. The app is easily one of the best board game apps I've played in a long time. The AI is really strong. It's super well implemented, especially now that they have the expansion to add in Riverfolk, which broadens it just enough that it's great. It has some really good tutorials that really do a good job of walking you through each of the factions and how they play and what you're trying to do with them. So the app's tutorials, I think, are fantastic. The tabletop simulator mod is really good. I've had a lot of fun playing on that. It's another game that benefits from being able to lock things down, kind of move things around it. I think it had a little bit of scripting. I don't remember a ton of scripting on the version I played of it.
Setup scripting, maybe?
I think, definitely some setup stuff, but not much more than that. But still, it's just such a good game. I really, really love Root. It's easily one of my more favorite games. And it's one that I never understand why it's my favorite, because it's like so many things that I shouldn't like or that I don't tend to like. But somehow they just come together really well in Root and with the theme and everything. And so being able to play that a bunch on the app, if I include app plays, it was easily my most played game of the last year. And then even a few really good plays on Tabletop Simulator, both of which are very slick digital versions of one of my favorite physical board games, and having that at my fingertips was fantastic and definitely helped, through a lot of different tough times. So
it's very, very good, and I really like that Leader made a ton of supported digital versions, not just their app version, but all of their Tabletop Simulator stuff. It's all like almost first party. It's like, here's all of our assets, make something that everyone can play, because you know what? People that play that version probably own the in-person one.
Or will buy in-person one. Maybe they get to like it there and then go buy it.
Everyone doesn't own a copy of every single game they play with their friends. It's not like all three of us own every single thing in Root, but we all want to play it, and we talk about it.
Well,
marketing people.
At least
marketing.
2 out of the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Yes, 2 out of 3, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's our lists. Jeff, I believe you said you have an honorable mention you requested to do at the end.
Yes, because this is not just a number 11 honorable mention. This is a number 0 honorable mention.
Top of the list.
Top of the list. Anyone that came out with any sort of special solo, 2-player, Tabletop Simulator, Board Game Alliance, anything anyone ever did to put forth special effort to make their game being able to be played solo or during this whole fucking nightmare of a year, they get the real number 1.
I'll accept that.
Yeah, because like I didn't play really any of them, but we talked about them in news. It was like so-and-so came out with this version, that version, this pandemic. They came out with like puzzle versions that you could just puzzle out. Like, man, it's a co-op game, but you know what? Here's some like things you can do. And Seven Wonders Duel came out with a fucking solo mode. Like,
yeah, lots of games came out, like you said, with either new solo versions for them or digital like things to make it really easy to play remotely. Like,
yes,
we were talking even in this list about like Czech Games and their code names. Like, hey, here's a web app where you can play this really easy with people.
Or the Forgotten Waters, or
little one-sheet things that someone put forth effort to make this game able to still be played without having people around. It is recognized and appreciated.
Well, that wraps up our list. But we get to jump over, because we, as is the case when we do these top 10s, we post a thread over on our BGG guild number 2731.
First one in 16 months or 15 months.
Yeah. And so we solicit responses from you, the listeners, /fans, /whatnot.
Yep.
And we got some responses. So
Yes, we did.
first up, we have...
Rude. I'm the one that reads those.
Oh, that's
remember?
right. That is. It's been a year.
God.
Over a year.
God.
Zach.
Yeah.
Zach has to do something and
I have
hand
to do
feedback
something.
for once.
Yes.
so
Yeah.
Zach, take it away. What do we got here for some listener feedback on the guild post?
All right. So our first one, and just to let you know, that's Guild
731.
2731.
I remember that.
Yeah. If you want to check us out on there, the first one is from Matt in Ohio. My weekly group switched meeting onto a Discord server every week. We mostly use BGA, that's Board Game Arena, right?
Yes.
Because of its ease of access. We just set up a chat for people to propose pickup games, and then groups would break out into voice channels to play. That's pretty cool. I like that. A few games on there that really worked out well in that environment. For Sale, Ink and Gold, Downforce, Seven Wonders, High Clue. I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
Seasons, and Welcome To. Also got to learn some out of print or hard to find games because they're on BGA, Russian Railroads, and Kalis. And that's one nice thing about like the digital implementations of things. You can be like, hey, this game that we don't have access to, hey, we can actually do
for
it
a reasonable price.
for a reasonable price. Yeah. And the game
like anything Splatter.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
The game I got to play the most in real life was The Crew. My mom was in our quarantine bubble, so the wife and I would play with her nearly every Friday night through the bulk of the pandemic. We've played through the campaign once and have restarted. I keep forgetting there's a campaign in that game.
Yeah.
I think we'll keep up those regular game nights for some time, and maybe I can convince them to switch to another co-op in the future. Now I'd like to point out that I listed exactly 10 games, no more, no less, and I highly doubt this will be the case for our illustrious hosts.
I mean, it's certainly... I actually did it this
Once
one.
again.
I did 10.
Once
I did
again.
10 games.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, and he listed a 1 through 10, and then he had a 0, which is a different thing, so it's fine. I'm the
And
only
your
one.
0 wasn't a specific game. It was a
Yeah.
broad, like, hey, thank you to...
That was very
yeah.
honorable, the most honorable of mentions.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel that it was right for us to have a list, since I want to say I'm the person that does that the most. So
You certainly do a fair amount of the... I put 2 games in this one slot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of similar. It's fine.
Yeah, it's
I
fine.
just put all the tabletop simulator games I put into the same slot.
I didn't even think about the fact, like, some of those, like, looking back over that list, like, Welcome To is an obvious example that I never thought to try and play remotely.
All of the writing and rolling.
Yeah.
Flipping
then
and filling.
For Sale. I would have never thought to try For Sale.
Yeah.
But For Sale, there's no real reason that wouldn't work just fine
Yeah.
remotely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know what wouldn't work real good for a pandemic socially distanced game?
Draftosaurus.
Draftosaurus.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
That's our next top 10. The 10 worst games for a pandemic.
10 worst games for a pandemic. Next comment.
Open mouth kissing, the game.
Yes.
I did a lot of that.
Yep.
It was nice.
Next one is from Alexandre Paquette.
Piquet.
Alex. We'll go
Alex
by
from
Alex.
France.
Alex from France. That is correct. I went from 65% of solo plays to 95% plus.
Wow.
No tabletop simulator or I'm just say Octagon games.
OCTGN.
Yeah, OCTGN. So no MMA for him. Just a bit on Board Game Arena from time to time. For solo plays, mainly Arkham Horror, the LCG, and Marvel Champions, the LCG, and also a bit of Nemo's War.
If there was a board game for honorable mentions, it would be a solo game, Nemo's War, that I did not actually play. But so I want to play it. It is a solo game.
Yeah.
Like Under Falling Skies. It's but I actually played Under Falling Skies. So
Yeah, I don't own any good solo campaign games. Like I own some games that have solo modes, but a lot of them are like just play and try to beat. Like here's a list of range of scores. Try and do better than those. And
Right.
that's like it's not fun for me. So
Yeah. Next one is from Science Point to Yes, Ian.
I believe so.
I
Okay.
also believe so.
Games broke down into 3 categories for my 3 major gaming experiences during the pandemic. Games played on TTS. These are games that I played with various peeps from Mile High Game Guys on Tabletop Simulator. Great Western Trail plus Rails to the North. Played this the most. Still haven't beaten Jeremy in a synchronous game, but async is a different story. I'm still relatively indifferent to the expansion, but it is solid. And I think I played with him once. Were you in that? Somebody,
No.
I played with somebody. Maybe
It wasn't me. I was going to say I actually have been meaning to give Great Western Trail another shot, and I've never played the expansion.
We
Gotcha.
So I
reviewed
should
it, and
try
we were
and
like,
get in on these.
and then we've heard expansion, yay or nay, and
I mean, some of that was
divisive. Great
that
Western Trail.
review was a really good example of we have to be careful about how, when, and where we play the game to get a fair review. Because it was a lot of like trying to cram it onto a table where we're all standing around at Bicycle Cafe at the very end of the game night.
The Bicycle Cafe bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ugh, yeah. And I want to say that might have been my first Steam game with people from the Slack. I don't know. It was either that or Arkham Horror. One of the two. Next one is Anno 1800, my first Martin Wallace game.
Nice.
Yeah, you're going to want to work that. Easy to learn and works great on Tabletop Simulator. We'll be looking to pick up a copy once it's in the States. I'm assuming nobody's played that. So
Nope.
Yep.
Have not.
And then Age of Steam. Only started playing it recently, but I am digging the system. Need to play more of it. Love the bidding for turn order. It's fun to play a game where risk of failure is so real. I'm not sure if I'll get a real life copy of it since most maps are online and much harder to find in real life, which that sounds right. And it seems like something that will stay digital with me. So.
Yeah. I definitely regret not getting in on the Kickstarter for like the new edition, but I definitely don't regret it enough to go try and track down and pay not the reduced Kickstarter price to get it now, especially because, again, some of those maps you just can't get. So
yeah. All right. Next category is games played solo. Gaia Project, great AI, great game, excellent solo play, and it burns my brains in a way few other games do. Next
Never
one,
played it.
I haven't played it either. Next one is Maracaibo, a Great Western Trail remix, good AI, campaign story that has mediocre writing, but your actions generate interesting board evolutions over time. I still like Great Western Trail more, but this is still a solid game, especially if you like playing cards with multiple functions. Is this the one that you got?
This is the one I got. I got it with Watergate.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Also Capstone.
Also,
Yes.
yeah. And then Feast for Odin with the Norwegian expansion. Not as good of a solo experience than as the others above since there's no AI, but it is a good game to move slowly at your own pace. You really like the solo game of it, of the first one, right?
Yeah.
Because
Well,
you use two different sets to like block the difference between each round.
So it's still one of those where you're like, he said there's no AI, you're not really playing against someone, so I don't love that. But it actually, I think, feels even tighter at 2 at 1 than at 2, and even a little bit than at 3. Because if you take an action one turn, you cannot take that action the next turn. It's just blocked.
Yeah.
And so that makes it a lot trickier for getting some of those spots. You can't reliably hit it, 1 or 2 or 3 turns in a row. So
yeah.
Lots of options, so there is a benefit of not being pressured to take your turn. I'm still terrible at it.
Hey, let's play Feast or Odin sometime.
Yeah. There you go.
I need a win.
Games played with 7-year-old son. Spirit Island with all the expansions. Both my son and I's favorite game. It's so good. So many ways to play, and I think co-ops are basically the perfect fit with my son, who likes heavy games but doesn't like to lose. Awesome solo as well. Also has a great tabletop simulator mod, but haven't gotten a chance to use it yet.
Yeah, I've not looked at any of the tabletop simulator Spirit Island things because I don't love Spirit Island.
See,
Same here,
and for me, I love it, but the person I play with the most is Megan, and so we would just play the physical copy.
You just own all of the games. So.
Yeah.
Yep. Gloomhaven, the other big co-op game we got during the pandemic. Super fun to play through the campaign. Lost steam once we picked up Spirit Island. We will need to pick up our campaign sometime in the next few weeks.
I don't know. We'll
We
never
we
finish.
just need to do a new
Gloomhaven.
campaign,
I think.
Especially because so many of us had fucked choices to unlock new characters.
Yeah. We've only had like one new person come in. Yeah.
Next one is Res Arcana. Due to its short length, it's probably the game we played the most during the pandemic. Excellent filler. My son has really grokked it and has legitimate complaints about getting a bad deal of cards. So now we are moving exclusively to drafting.
Ah.
There we go.
There you go.
Is that the mage spell?
Yes.
Spell game?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard really good things about it. I have not played it yet.
Yeah.
Last one, Clank Legacy. One of the best campaign games I've played yet. Great writing and good legacy elements. Clank is one of my son's favorite games, so this hits a sweet spot. We enjoyed this much more than Pandemic Legacy Season 1, which still sits unfinished in October, going on 2 years since we started.
But then it just ends. You just
You just
The
gotta
ending
finish
is so good.
Those last 2 months go by fast.
Yeah. We will always look fondly on this game, and we still get it out to replay every once in a while since the finished game is still better than base
I
Clank.
would love
interesting.
to play a Clank Legacy game. I've heard it is a very good legacy game.
I will tell you, every time I go to Black and Red, I always look at the Clank section, see that it's not there, and then sigh.
Is it been out of print? Or
It might be out of. I haven't put enough effort to look more past that, but I mean, I'm sure I could find it somewhere.
Yeah. Add it to the pile of
the
legacy
pile.
games.
There you go.
Betrayal, we still got to do.
We still do, yeah.
I know a lot of them talk about, like, you know, you get your board at a finished state where it's like a unique version, like Risk Legacy. That was a big thing. Is like you get your own unique copy of Risk. But like I've never played any legacy game after I finished it. So the idea that like
Which legacy games have you?
But have you played one of them? Like,
No.
I mean,
Pandemic.
Charterstone
had
is
it-
technically a
But
finished board.
If you want to play a super unbalanced, I tell you this: if you want to play it, play the red character because you're going to win. So that was Paul's, and his board was a lot more broken than ours were. So,
Huh.
Mine was Reputation, and everyone else just went Reputation and then totally negated any all benefit that I
exactly.
had.
No, some of the good ones that I've seen that have had that are like your character and like the location are like tied to two separate things. Where this one it was not. So, but yeah, I've heard good things about Betrayal. I've heard good things about Clank. We still need to play those. I don't know. Is it down
Betrayal's
there?
right down there. Yeah.
Well, right next to Downfall.
All right. Yeah. All right. Next one is from Chris Evans.
Christopher Evans.
Sorry. He told us that he was a fan of the show, so I want to just go by our
fan of the show. Fan, not just friend of the show.
He did say fan of the show.
Captain America himself.
Yeah. Food Chain Magnet and the Root At were two of my most played games. Playing games in general kept me sane and was my main social outlet. Tabletop Simulator and the Root At were lifesavers.
A lot of Root played over the last year.
Yep. And the last one is from Boyd.
Womp womp.
God. Jesus, Jeff.
That's good to hear from you. It's good to hear. You're just mad because he isn't emailing you. That's why. Yeah.
All of these could be emails. All of these could be emails.
Good to see a BGG post. I like these. Then why didn't you comment on the? I think you did comment on the last one.
I think you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Q&A. Which we'll come back to. We're going to do a Q&A.
Yeah, at some point. But so it was a real tough year. But my favorite game experiences were Arkham Horror LCG. May, Wes, Ryan, and I played through several campaigns on TTS, and that's
very good implementation of that.
Very true, and that's got to be in our Slack the most DMs. I've got to assume
it's probably
is that
just
group.
Mostly.
Yeah. And I did play, join them once, I think, when Ryan wasn't there. And it was.
And I think I watched you once.
Yeah.
I came home from work because I was working nights for 6 months.
Oh, yeah. And that mod is real good.
You know what helped starting a new job that put me on nights for 6 months while we weren't in studio?
Yes.
Because it would have been like, sorry, I guess we're doing these other times.
Yep. Well, I think that was one of the reasons we moved to Sunday still.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Tricarion finally played, and it was great.
Fucking 7 hours, but yeah, it was good.
Boyd having a long game?
I know.
That doesn't seem right. That's probably why it was 12 hours.
Yeah,
now it makes
that's
more
probably
sense.
what it was.
Yeah. I like how we were like ribbing you for shitting on him, and then we just went right back to doing that.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, totally fine.
Boyd is the me of fans.
Yes.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Oh,
I don't know about Boyd. I don't know about Boyd.
We're sorry.
We're sorry,
we
Boyd.
did that to you. Hope you don't take your $1 away on our Patreon or whatever money you give us.
I hope you still come
He definitely
in
gives us
August.
more than
all
$1.
Remember, Adrian won't be there, so it'll be okay. It's a safe space.
Let's keep going. Let's get through his list.
Yes. Underwater Cities, the Root app, Through the Ages app, Tekenu,
Yes.
Tekenu, and Barrage.
I know he talked a ton about the Through the Ages app
Yes.
on Slack.
Yeah, I know Paul really likes
Paul
it too.
also played a lot of it.
I heard
yeah.
that it's like, fuck the board game, play the
Yes.
app.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I consistently hear that as well. I actually need to check. I think my Google Play balance is high enough I can afford the app now for it. So
Okay.
'cause it's like a $9.99 app.
And that's it.
Yeah. So that's it for listener feedback. That's it for the lists. So we done here. Done with that.
I was going to say, once again, that's Board Game Geek Guild 2731. If you ever want to post on those, they will be coming out again. So,
Yay.
Right on. Well, that pretty much brings everything to a close. If you would like to get a hold of us, there are a bunch of different ways to do so. You can send us an email.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can follow us over on Twitter. I tweet under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
We have Instagram and Facebook. Both.
Wow.
But I'm
You just
I'm-
keep
I'm
skipping
like
Jeff.
I'm like
Sorry.
Jeff_MHGG. Jesus.
I tweet under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
We have both Twitter and Instagram, both at MHGameGuys. Facebook. Oh my God, my brain has melted. We have both Instagram and Facebook, both /MHGameGuys. For our website, go check out punchboardmedia.com, who we are super happy to be members with. And you can find links to all of our episodes over there with show notes and things like that inside of them. As well as links to things like our Slack channel and our BGG guild number 2731, where we post the threads for things like these top 10 episodes that we just did. And then you can, of course, watch us record all of the things because we stream all of our recordings live on Twitch, twitch.tv/MHGameGuys. If you would like to get a behind the scenes look, errors and all, vocal flubs and all, along with jumping in the comments and making fun of me the whole time, like Boyd and Ofer did on this episode. So,
Correct.
or at least the first part of it. But anyway, that's it for the episode. I'm not entirely sure when this one will actually get out since I have to edit it. And I haven't edited an episode in
14 months.
Longer. Sure.
Since we started, yeah.
I don't remember the last time I edited an episode.
But you know what? You'll know because you're hearing it. That's
Yes.
when you know it
Yep.
came out.
So at some point, in relation to this, we will have just recorded or be recording a podcast episode. We'll be streaming a game on a Friday. All of those things that we do, that you can find out about by joining the Slack channel and all of that stuff. So, thanks everybody for listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed our first top 10 list in 16 months. I know it was fun to actually put one back together and think about. So,
Yes, it was.
that's it for this episode. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm S tier Jeff.
Bye.
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 She's going to annoy me now, Adrian. Just want to let you know that.
It was rough. It's been roughly 60 seconds.
Yeah.
We've been through roughly 9 full numbers.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And so I was just trying to
Okay.
get an idea of
I figured it was that, but I wasn't sure.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He just, on there, he brought up a calculator. He did 6 divided by 9.
60 divided by 9.
60 divided by 9. 6.66 came up, and he went, and then just exited. And I was like, what the fuck was that?
Let's bring it up the calculator. I'm not painting him anytime soon.
You keep that in. That was funny.
Just so you know it exists.
Me? I don't edit these.
Oh, God.
You edit
no.
you edit these. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know when the fuck that's going to happen. No idea when this episode's going to come out. All right. I am totally ready.
You good?
I'm totally good. I'm waiting for Jeff to finish up banging out some tweets and Slacks.
Slack is out.
Slack is out.
Slack is out.
And looks like tweet is retweeted.
Not successfully.
Oh.
Am I supposed to retweet our tweet? It's like,
I was going to say, quote tweet it. Quote tweet and be like,
quote
hey, we are
tweeting.
starting this now.
how do you quote tweet things? It's not like retweeting, right?
Yeah.
It is a type of retweet.
hit
Usually
retweet.
when you hit retweet,
Retweet.
Well, it says it's already. Oh, okay. All right.
Learn learning together.
I don't think anybody needs to be super in their mics, given how clearly I can hear everything.
I can
right
sit
now.
right here.
I could say, I don't know. I really like it out right
But
here.
I like hearing real loud. Yeah.
Something really good though.
Oh no.
Adrian.
I am so excited about a top 10.
All right, so let's start this bitch. In
Whoa.
5, 4, 3, 2,